I'm joined by two people tonight with great insight in this case. New York Times Justice reporter Katie Benner, who first broke the story yesterday, and former federal prosecutor Cynthia Oxley, who specialized in sex crime cases. Thank you both for your time tonight. Katie, let me start with you. What have you learned since your initial shocking report yesterday?
So what we've learned in the last 24 hours is really more detail about the alleged extortion plot. And let's keep in mind the alleged extortion plot is different from the allegations against Congressman Gaetz about child sex trafficking. And that's an investigation that's been going on for more than half a year. What happened a couple of weeks ago is two men approached the congressman's father, Don Gaetz. They laid out a plan for him. They said, you know, we in a document that Congressman Gaetz did provide to the New York Times, these men said, we are aware that your son might have legal issues. He might be under investigation by the FBI. We're aware that this would hurt him. We're also aware that you have money that we could use in order to do something great. Bring back Robert Levinson, a man who disappeared in Iraq, somebody who the government has declared deceased, but who people have been searching for a long time. They felt they had a lead on this, and that with Don Gaetz's money, they could bring this man back to the United States. The hope would be, this is a very convoluted scheme, the hope would be that the American government would be so happy, that President Biden would be so happy, that Congressman Gaetz would be pardoned for any crimes. Don Gaetz, well, our sources tell us, felt that this was an unusual document. It was an unusual ask. He eventually contacted the FBI. He has worn a wire into 2 meetings with these men, and at least 2 phone conversations.
Yeah. And that was the wire was what Matt Gaetz revealed on Twitter and then in his Tucker Carlson astonishing interview. Cynthia, just to be clear, if somebody's wearing a wire in an ongoing investigation, it's not wise normally to out that person in the wire, especially if they're your dad, is it?
No, it's not wise. But nothing is happening wise. It's not wise to go on Tucker Carlson and accuse him of other sexual picadillos. It's not wise to go on Tucker Carlson and instead of denying that you had anything to do with with child sex trafficking, just deny that you traveled on interstate or you know, you crossed state lines, not that anybody was under 18. It doesn't make any sense to do a lot of things that he's done. He mentioned, people are saying that there are pictures with pornographic pictures with me and child prostitutes. It's not really wise to bring that up, but that's what he's doing. And so wisdom is not driving the day for Matt Gaetz.
And Cynthia, just to be clear, as Katie mentioned, the alleged extortion plot is not necessarily tied to the sex trafficking investigation, right? They're 2 separate things.
Yeah, they're totally unrelated. I mean, the extortion plot, from what we understand, is relatively recent. And the investigation into the Seminole County tax assessor has been going on for quite some time. And I might add that in that investigation, they are upping the pressure and upping the pressure. He had 12 charges against him, and today they filed 21 more. They are putting the pressure on him. And what that means is he is in more and more trouble and needs desperately to get some help. And the way to do that is to roll on somebody else. So it's a big concern for Gaetz that this man is in bigger and bigger trouble because he may very well want to talk about Gaetz in order to save himself.
Indeed, he may. So let me ask you this, Katie, in your reporting, what have you discovered in terms of the connections between Matt Gaetz and Joel Greenberg? Because we've seen the photos, we just put them up outside the White House with Roger Stone. I believe he even endorsed him for a potential congressional run, Gaetz did, of Greenberg.
Yes, and we know that Greenberg has been really public about his friendship with Gaetz. It seems that Greenberg has almost flaunted it. He's been very proud of it. Gaetz also, to your point, has been publicly supportive of Greenberg, but maybe a little bit more low-key about how close they really are. We also know from our reporting that the 2 of them were known in Florida to spend a tremendous amount of time together, a lot of social time together. There were bars they liked to frequent, hotel bars, and also that they liked to be at parties together. So they were really close social companions, and that they were known to have a very active social and dating life.
And yeah, so I'm sure we're going to discover more in the coming days. Let me ask you this, Cynthia. You have prosecuted crimes in this field. Talk to us about what this DOJ investigation, not just into Greenberg, who's indicted, Matt Gaetz, who is not indicted, but talk to us about what potential crimes we're talking about, what laws are being broken, what the penalties are.
Well, the penalties are pretty severe. It depends on exactly what the age turns out to be. But the penalties are basic. Probably, from what it sounds like, it's a 10-year felony, which is to entice a person, a child under the age of 18, to cross state lines, to have sex with them for anything of value. And that could be paying them. It could be paying for their hotel. It could be paying for plane tickets. And oddly, in Gates' statement, he said, well, you know, in prior times with prior girlfriends, you know, I was very generous and I did pay for plane tickets. It's kind of an odd thing to say, given that those are the elements of the crime. So, again, this is a person who needs to exercise his Fifth Amendment right and remain silent and get a lawyer.
Matt Gaetz is not known for remaining silent. Let's be honest about that. Katie, one last question to you. The lawyer Gaetz accuses of extortion, David McGee, said he did speak to Gaetz' dad, telling the Washington Post, Don Gaetz called me and asked to talk to me, though would only say of their talk, it is a pleasant conversation of a dad concerned about his son and the trouble his son was in. A lot of this revolves around the extortion part of this, involves around that conversation. McGee sounding very confident, saying, yeah, if Gaetz wants to release the tapes, if there are tapes.
Yeah, I think that what we know of that conversation is they discussed the document that I mentioned earlier, which was this plan whereby they could, you know, find a missing American and bring him home with great triumph. I don't get any indication from that conversation that any explicit asks were made, that anybody explicitly talked about a quid pro quo. And so while the details of that investigation continue to emerge, you're right, Mr. McGee does sound very confident. He himself did work at the Justice Department. He would have probably a firm grasp on his own legal liability, and so we'll have to see what happens.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.